Well, good evening. Welcome back to the Brothas-In-Law. And on this channel, we discuss police involved incidents that occur around the country, and we give our analysis on the actions of those police officers to see if their actions are what a reasonable officer would do. We also look at the actions of the citizens to see if they followed our acronym of CALM, which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on, would their situation had turned out differently. Now, you may agree or disagree with us, but by the end of the video, it is our hope that you get a better understanding of how these incidents unfold. So if you're new to our channel, I was a Virginia State police officer for 7 years, and I'm a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer. And Mike, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Good to be back. We got a good show lined up for you. I'm Mike Bradley. I'm one of the co-hosts of this show. And for those of you who may be new, I'm retired police officer in Northern California for 26 years. And I'm also a 6-year Army vet. So we got a little bit of experience about police work and what we're talking about. Today, we got a good one lined up for you because it's starting to gain a lot of traction that happened in Ohio, right there, Corey?
Yep.
So this was actually on the 4th of July. And this was around, it ultimately ended up around the Circleville Police Department. And also the state troopers were involved too. So it's two separate agencies involved in this incident. And it was involving an incident in basic terms. A dog was let loose on a suspect who initially was fleeing, but he was let loose on a suspect. And that was the controversy of whether or not that should have happened. So we're going to get into that video. We're going to show that video, and we're going to get into it. And we appreciate your comments and questions, and appreciate everybody joining us today. And we're gonna see what this looks like.
Yep. As always, before we get into the video tonight, y'all, don't forget, if you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date on all our latest videos that we come out with. We go live every Thursday, as you know, at 8 o'clock or 8:10 actually. And so hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us and join the conversation. Also, to head on over to our merch shop and grab yourself a Brothas-In-Law t-shirt, Brothas-In-Law podcast t-shirt with the CALM acronym on the back, which stands for comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. Help support our channel and get out there on multiple platforms and spread the message of staying calm when interacting with law enforcement. Like Mike said, it's a great show. A lot of good talking points on here. We hope you get a better understanding how these things, like I said in the intro, unfold, and not to overreact to them. And let's look at both sides to see, what could have been done better, so that you use this teaching point to share with your friends and families on what to do and what not to do if you ever find yourself in these type of situations, especially if you trucker. Now, the truckers, that's a whole different game right there, Mike. And for him to do what he did as a trucker, you don't normally see police getting in pursuits with an 18-wheeler. I mean, that's just, those guys know that that's their bread and butter. So they're usually having their I's dotted and their T's crossed when they're behind that wheel. And for him to lead the police on in a pursuit, dude, you just got a ticket for. And initially, the pursuit reason for the pursuit was an equipment violation. He was missing a mud flap. Now, you may say that's stupid, but that is a requirement for them to have all mud flaps and everything, and all their equipment in order while they're operating their commercial vehicle on the highways and byways.
That's right.
So it was a good stop. It was a good pursuit. He failed to yield to the lights and sirens, and this is where we are. So it's a good one. You got a question, throw it down in the comments down below. We'll get it on screen and we'll answer your questions. It is it is graphic. I will say that it is disturbing to see this. Also, I already put the link down below in the description so you can watch it in its entirety. And this is without news broadcasting in it. It's a straight police body cam footage. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started and get into it.
Let's do it.
Again, as usual, I apologize for the commercials if they pop up in here. I can't get out of that. Let me stop right there, Mike. Up to this point, they were in the pursuit. He stops here. They all get out. They have their weapons drawn, trying to get him to comply. And then he ultimately takes back off. And this is where this picks up at.
Yeah. Also, let me add something. Some people might have a question of why did they got guns out? Keep in mind, folks. Go ahead, Corey. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say, you go ahead and put that. Go ahead, because I was gonna say that for when we got down the road.
Okay. Let's save it then. Let's save it.
All right, so now you're taking back off.
Quick County or Rose County?
He took off again.
Now, this is Ohio State Police.
1959 Jackson. I'll have traffic on northbound right lane. He rolled the window down, looked at us, rolled it back up. On northbound 48 miles an hour, passing Moore Road in Rose County.
I need an update for 1020 again.
That's okay.
So
as you can see up to this point, folks, they finally got him stopped. All right. This is a body cam of one of the Ohio State Police that ended up at the scene, at the back of the scene. But you'll see that he'll come and get close to the situation and show what happened.
That's a dog. Come to me. You don't want bit. On the ground. You're gonna get bit. Come to me, man. I ain't gonna let sleep.
Do not let them. Don't release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up.
Pause it right there, Corey.
With his hands up, don't.
I gotta make a comment. I hear this dude saying, "Do not release the dog," but he is really just talking. He ain't really yelling out as if he's letting that K-9 officer know not to release the dog. He's kind of like talking calmly, like normally, without any volume to it. I'm not sure. The point I say that is because I'm not sure if that K-9 officer heard him say, "Do not release the dog." What do you say, Corey?
Well, there's a couple things I see wrong with this. You have two people trying to give commands. You have the state police giving a command, which they're primary. Anytime you have a situation like this, we have multiple units, or you have multiple units of the same police department, there's only one person that's going to be in charge, and that's the one, right? You got this guy here saying, come to me, come to my voice, and somebody behind him saying, don't release the dog. Hey, what's up, Jesus? Love you. Thank you. Welcome, Mom, Stacy. You got the K-9 handler saying, get down on the ground or you're going to get bit. Get down on the ground. So you got two sets of commands going, and you can't do that because the citizen is going to get confused. Well, who do I listen to? This man telling me to come to him. He's telling me to get down on the ground. Well, that K-9 unit guy is not in charge. He should have not been opening his mouth. You're an assisting unit. You don't give any orders or commands unless that primary unit, which is the state police, gives you the order to release that dog, or you see a threat to release it. He's unarmed. His hands are up. You don't even, I mean, yeah, you can have the dog out there. There's nothing wrong with having the dog out there, right? It's just you're trying to give commands, telling him what to do, and you don't need to be doing that.
I 100% agree. You got two different agencies here, two different agencies giving commands, like you said. It should be one agency giving command, period. Keep in mind, folks, we're giving you our opinion as if we were in this position at this time. You know what I'm saying? Without race being involved, without any emotions being involved, we are giving you an opinion of whether or not we think this was reasonable actions by an officer, no matter what race they are. Put it this way, Corey. If it's legal for me to release the dog on you, or it's not legal for me to release the dog on you, it is what it is. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. The fact remains, if I'm supposed to if I feel the need to release the dog, I'm going to release it. If I shouldn't release that dog, I shouldn't release it, period. So that's the view that we're giving you. That's the viewpoint that we're giving you, is that this is strictly an objectionable stance, okay? And Corey, you're right. I agree with you. You got to, who's saying what? You know, don't release the dog, okay? That person saying that, are they in charge? Are they the ones giving the commands? Or the K-9 cop? Is he the one giving the commands? That suspect doesn't know. Now keep in mind, folks, I'm not going to sit up here and act like this happened all the police fault. You know, the suspect definitely has some fault here. Keep in mind, he took these officers on a high-speed chase in a semi-truck because he wouldn't stop. He only stopped because they deployed stop sticks to flatten his tires, and that's what happened. That's how he ended up stopping. He blew it out. So what's going through our mind, Corey, as an officer, when a truck or anybody doesn't stop for you on a basic traffic stop? There's a lot of stuff goes through our mind.
Well, yeah, you don't know what just happened. I mean, you know, and now this is the reason why when you fail to stop and we get into a pursuit, well, again, like you just said, Mike, a lot of things run through your head. And then when you get stopped, you know, as at that point, yes, we're coming out with guns drawn, right? Because now we don't know. There's a reason why you're not stopping. Right. And you know, now at this point, we go into what's called a felony stop. Right. Felony eluding, right? Police. And so when you get into that type of pursuit, then yeah, you're going to get out with your weapons drawn, and commands are going to be given. But you know, this is one that I'm hands down. The guy was wrong from the jump. He shouldn't have won. Michael's problem. He should never been opening his mouth. And he should never have released that dog. There was no reason to release the dog. And again, for me, it has nothing to do with the color of the individual's skin. It's just the fact of the matter, you didn't follow procedures. And I had a friend of mine, my old ship partner, was a K-9 handler. and K-9 handlers are very, very different. They're very possessive of their dogs. And a lot of times my partner, he wouldn't bring that dog out. Be like, hey, Chris, go get your dog. No, you know, he would only work his dog in certain situations and get him out the car. Now, the thing is, when those handlers get those dogs out, they're ready to work. Those dogs are ready to work. They're in attack mode. They're ready to be released. And it's not the dog's fault. The dog is only doing what he's training. It's that handler's fault for releasing them and knowing when and when not to release them. And so it's a tough situation. And you know, you have to, those guys stay in training. So to say he had a lack of training, probably. I like to see how long he was a K-9 handler. Bubba Buck, no, this is my home state, but these aren't my boys. I was a Virginia State trooper. But either it's just sad all the way around, Mike.
It is. I agree, definitely. And the reason why we wanted to back it up, folks, because we wanted to at least tell you guys why it was this stop was elevated in the first place, because he didn't stop. We don't know if you running from something unrelated to this. We don't know if you just committed a murder and you taking off on us for some reason. We don't know what kind of danger you present from running from driving away in the first place, not stopping in the first place. And let me tell you something, folks. The fact that you say you were scared as an officer, that's not going to be enough for me to change up my tactics as far as how I contact you. You see what I'm saying? As far as how I engage with you, you being scared is not going to change that. That's why it's important that you do what you're supposed to. But in this situation, Corey,
and you being scared doesn't mean for you to run.
No. In this situation, up to this point, we both can agree that the first thing that I see wrong as far as what these officers are doing from a tactical standpoint is you got two people giving orders. Who are you listening to? The guy with the dog or the guy across the way here? You know what I'm saying? We don't know who's doing. So that creates confusion. First mistake. Now
I also agree with you too, Mike, whether or not the state trooper that was behind was yelling loud enough for that K-9 handler to hear. Either or, even when he released them, then they were loud enough, like, hey, don't do it. Get the dog, don't, you know.
Yeah, at that point, they was yelling.
Yeah, at that point, they were yelling. But I think, and that guy, he was already, the handler was already in the mode to release anyways. And I don't think he was, he might have zoned out all things and had his focus just on the dog. Because they see here in a second, the dog is actually running past the guy. Let's look at that. Let's look at that.
All right, let's play it.
Do not.
There's the dog. You see the dog ran past the suspect.
Yeah. He runs past him. And then you see the guy. Hold on, let me back it up again, so y'all can take a look at it. Back it up in frame here.
And not only that, it looks like the officer is right on top of the suspect at that
median and in the grass
when the dog ran past.
Come to me, man. I ain't gonna let sleep.
Do not let them. Don't release the dog. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not.
He should have said that louder.
Hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up.
Hold up. You see how he waved him back? Oops, I messed up, y'all.
No, I see how he waved him back. It would have been more helpful if that other officer would have yelled that from the start. Maybe that would have made a difference. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't. But if you think about it, Corey, that's really neither here nor there. that officer, that K-9 handler, is ultimately responsible for that dog. Okay. And this was not a situation that I could see where you would release that dog on that guy standing there with his hands up. I tried to find Circleville Police Department's department policy regarding K-9s on the internet, because remember I told you there's sometimes some departments post their department policy on the internet. I wasn't able to find Circleville PD's department policy because I wanted to see what it said to see if he was in violation. Now, after the fact, I understand that this officer was fired. Okay. I'm assuming that that's because he was outside the department policy, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things that go into that. But since I couldn't find their department policy, I got another agency's department policy out here in California, which is probably around the same lines as the department policy across the country. Now, this is an example of a K-9 department policy that is in Northern California. A K-9 may be used to locate and apprehend a suspect if the K-9 handler reasonably believes that the individual has committed, is committing, or is threatening to commit any serious offense, and if any of the following conditions exist. There's 3 conditions. Number 1, there is a reasonable belief the suspect poses an immediate threat of violence or serious harm to the public, any officer, or the handler. Number 2, the suspect is physically resisting or threatening to resist arrest, and the use of a K-9 reasonably appears to be necessary to overcome such resistance. And finally, the suspect is believed to be concealed in an area where entry by other than the K-9 would pose a threat to the safety of officers or the public. So basically, if you hidden somewhere, I'm going to send the dog in before I go in, because I'm not going to put myself at risk as the officer. I'm going to instead put the dog at risk at first. Okay. And one key thing I want to say too, mere flight from a pursuing officer cannot be the basis for an officer to release the dog. For instance, if I pull up on you and you start running from me, you know what I'm saying? This is a scenario like that. I just pull up on you, I say stop, and you start running from me. I can't just based on that release that dog on you.
Right.
Without some additional circumstances that have to exist for that reason. Now, in this situation, this doesn't look like any of these would apply in this situation. So more than likely, this K-9 officer was in violation of his department policy. The guy was no threat at that time, at that moment. Okay, he had his hands up. You had 2 people telling him what to do. Which one do you listen to? Okay, now he put the dog on him and he got the dog off of him. The guy was still screaming, but he just got bit by a dog. Yeah, it hurts when you get bit by a dog. And I don't think, and Corey, we can agree, I definitely don't think this is a situation where that officer should have used that dog the way he did. What you say, Corey?
Hold on. No, go ahead. Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. When you're right, I agree with that policy, and I think majority of departments has something similar to that. The dog isn't automatically going to need to be in an attack mode, especially in a situation like this here. There's no reason for that dog to have been deployed like that. The guy was not a threat. Now, some may argue the fact, well, this guy's giving him the commands and the way they train, I give you 3 commands to get down on the ground, and you don't, I'm going to let my dog get you and get you down. Right. Almost like, hey, I tell you to get down, you don't. And I, OC spray you or pepper spray you or deploy a taser, right? He may be looking at it, such as that. But either or, at that point you should go hands on. There was enough officers there. He didn't have to release the dog on him, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me from this. It was not necessary for him to do that, and I think everyone across the board would be in agreement with that. There's really no way to argue in his favor.
No, and like I say, folks, we're gonna give it to you straight. We're gonna give it to you the way we would have done it. And we had 3 K-9 officers on our department. You know what I'm saying? One thing you'll notice too, people may not understand this. When the K-9 is working and on scene, the other officers stand back. We don't get involved because we're gonna get bit. Okay.
Right.
We don't get involved in what the K-9 officer is doing. Once that K-9 officer decides to release that dog, we got to stand back because you have to trust the handler of that K-9 to control that dog. In this situation, I think the dog was under control initially, but the dog should have never been used. That dog should have been in the vehicle.
Yeah,
okay?
He should never got the vehicle. He got him out the vehicle.
You know what I'm saying? He should have been in the vehicle, and then you give commands to that suspect with his hands up. Get down on the ground. One person giving commands to that person when he got his hands up in the air. That dog.
Now there's only one scenario I could come up with that maybe you could use the K-9 in. And that would have been if the guy was still in the vehicle, in the cab of the tractor trailer, and he was refusing to get out the cab.
Now that's a little different. Yeah, I hear you. Right. That's a little different.
Now that may be
argue that he's still a threat.
Right. I mean, you're in the cab, you're up higher, you have a higher tactical advantage than the officer because you're sitting up higher. It might be easier
you're
just
partially concealed because your hands are down low. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference.
You had no straight line. You had no line of sight into the cab of the 18-wheeler. So that will probably be the only scenario that I would see that releasing that dog like that would be beneficial. In this situation here, no, absolutely not. I agree with you. He should never got the dog out of the vehicle. Folks, let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below on your thoughts on this. Do you think it was right? Do you think it was wrong? What are your feelings on it? What are your feelings on police K-9 dogs anyway? Or do you feel that they're beneficial? They're a great tool. They're a great asset for officers to use. For example, like you did stated, Mike, let the dog go into an unknown building or whatever the case may be, and let them go in there and be the first one in, and then you follow in and get the threat. And I tell you, man, these dogs, when they let loose, and unless that handler is very good and telling them what to do, that dog's gonna come and bite the first person they see. I can speak on that because we were in a pursuit one time, late night, midnight shift or whatever, and somebody had stole a box truck, and we got into a pursuit with the box truck on the interstate, and the guy gets out. Dog, now the K-9 was on scene, but I'm trying to remember what happened. Some other reason. The dog got loose, I want to say, and he ended up biting another trooper. He reached up and got him in the chin. It punctured his skin a little bit, but he was good. But that was another officer. So, and I want to say it was one of our dogs, state dogs too. This has been a while ago. I'm trying to remember, but one of our own was bitten by a canine dog. So those dogs, when they get let loose, man, they're ready. They're ready to work. They're ready to put their jaws on something. So and when they lock on, whew,
yeah, they ain't gonna get off until the handler pulls them off. The handler is the only one that can take them off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, we were trained as officers. If we had a situation where the handler went down or something like that, and you were the only one to do anything about that dog, we were trained on the proper technique of trying to get the dog off. But that's in a really rare situation where I'm going to go up and try to control a handler's dog. You know what I'm saying? That handler dogs are a great tool. They're a great tool for police work. I know you'll hear in the media that they want to try to race bait and try to compare the civil rights era where dogs were used in terrible ways to apprehend black people, or the dogs are used to catch the slaves who on the run. They want to use those comparisons, but in modern day, for a K-9 is very beneficial for police because, like you said, Corey, if I could send a dog instead of me putting myself in harm's way, well, I'm going to do that. But as long as you follow the department policy and do it the right way, you're fine. Dogs are great. Dogs are not considered lethal force. Okay, they're less than lethal force. A dog would be somewhere around the same level of hitting somebody with a stick. Actually, you could break a bone hitting somebody with a stick. Okay, does it hurt when a dog bites you? Absolutely, yeah, it's supposed to. Okay, but it ain't gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? And and normally, typically, as long as you do what the orders are telling you to do, you'll be all right. But in this situation, that dog, in my opinion, shouldn't have even been out the car. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He should have had the dog in the car because this was not a situation. Excuse me. This was not a situation where that guy was presenting an immediate threat, something like that. Now, and I'm sure that's why the officer got released.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't a threat, and I don't know if it was so much he was released because of him breaking the policy, or was it more so that the department was showing a rapid response to the community of handling it versus leaving him on, unpaid leave until the investigation was over. Now you could ask me what my thoughts are on that. I'd have to look at his whole time he's been on the force. Did he have any other disciplinary actions? What type of officer was this guy? I would and make a determination if I was going to fire her or not. But if anything, he would definitely wouldn't be a K-9 handler again.
I would have to know
if he did get fired, he definitely would never be a K-9 handler again, for sure. It's like this. Do I think he should have been fired? In today's atmosphere, yes, that was probably the best thing. Probably for him is to be let go, for his sake and for the sake of the department. It was probably a good decision for him to go. Do I think this was racial in any ways, like you stated, Mike? No, I don't think it was racial either. Were there civil rights violated here? I mean, you could debate that. I think maybe. I don't think so.
That's why I hate to even get into the racial aspect, because in my opinion, the racial aspect doesn't belong, because either he was wrong or he was right in what he did. Like I said before at the beginning of the show, it really doesn't. The racial aspect really doesn't matter. Either you were wrong for what you did or you were right for what you did. You know what I'm saying? Right. In this particular situation, either he was wrong for releasing that dog on him or he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It's simple as that.
And again, you got to look at their policy.
Right. Either he
You gotta
violated
look at their
department
policy.
policy or he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter what color the suspect was, you got to stay within department policy. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And
100%.
if you went outside that, okay, well, you in the wrong. It doesn't matter what color you are. People
Right.
could speculate on racial issues, like you had the media making comparisons to the slave master chasing down the slave with the dog. You know what I'm saying? You hear all kind of comparisons like that, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
like I say, folks, when we give you our opinion on this particular situation, we're giving it to you from purely an objectionable point where, as an officer, do we think this is reasonable or not? You know what I'm saying? Simple as that.
So, Delando, to answer your question, his question is a very good one. Could that person fired be hired by another state? Now, under the new criteria that come out now, if you're fired from one department, you're not supposed to be hired.
Not supposed to be able to do that.
Right, by another one. But we know in some instances it is still happening. It's just a matter of, departments talking to each other, how they have the system set up so that these types of things can be communicated through all agencies across the country. But technically, the correct answer is no, he should not be able to be rehired by another state. Is it happening still? Yeah, it's still happening still.
And not only that, let's remember, he was fired. I'd be interested to know what ends up happening, because he ain't going down without a fight. So he's going to argue having been fired, and he's going to fight that in court because they feel he was fired without just cause. There was no
target.
And it's like, you violated department policy, you didn't, but he could end up getting his job back or getting reinstated in some kind of way. I don't know. That's yet to be debated in court. You know what I'm saying? Because it is going to court, and he is taking his department to court, basically, in lack of better words, and trying to get his job back. Now, whether or not he should have been fired, I do think, Corey, like you said, you see in agencies where they're just they'll do the firing first now instead of waiting because they don't want the heat from the community. They'll fire the officer and let that officer have to fight it on his own. As ate up as that is, I think that's ate up. You should be backed by your department as long as you were in department policy. Now, in this situation,
and that's why he shouldn't have been fired first. And then someone argued that's why he shouldn't have been fired first, because technically you haven't finished your investigation.
Right.
Whether or not he violated the policy on that. Because, like I said, you got to still try to figure out if he even heard the other officers telling him not to release the dog.
But you know what, though,
right?
Corey? I don't want to put too much weight on that other officer saying don't release the dog, because that's the K-9 handler.
You can't deny that, though. You can't deny that because all that's going to play out in court.
No, but you can't deny it. But at the same time, ultimately the control and responsibility goes on that handler. That
100%. But you guys say on his side, he's got to make an argument. He's got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was fired unjustly, right? Yeah. And that he didn't violate, because he's going to argue that, hey, I told you 3 times to get down on the ground. Then if I were representing the young man, the citizen that got bit, hey, well, were you in charge?
Yeah. Two different officers say one thing, come to me, one thing, get on the ground.
So I find it very hard that he would get his job back. If he did not get his job back, then to Delando's point, no, he would not get hired by any other agency across the states. Not supposed to, Delando, not supposed to. Again, but it's his right. He's able to go into court and argue to keep his job.
Yeah, keep
Does he
in
have a
mind,
briefcase on? I don't know.
I don't
Say
know.
again.
I don't know. No, you're right. You're right. I agree with you. It's his responsibility as a handler, no matter what. What situation did he say he saw? You know what I'd love to see is the body cam of the K-9 officer. That's what I was looking for, and I haven't seen that yet. I would love to see the body cam of that K-9 officer because it will show what he possibly was able to hear, what he saw. He was closer to that suspect than the state police were. You know what I'm saying?
And that may be why he was barking commands, because he felt that he
maybe because he was the closest one. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to see if there's body cam of which there should be if they have body cam.
I'm sure should be. Yeah, somebody would do a FOIA and get it out there for it to see his angle. It'll probably come out, but that would be a good one to see. You're right. I agree. That's one that we did see, that angle, and the angle of some of the other officers that were on scene there to see, how well that sound was able to travel. Was that K-9 officer able to hear it? I mean, because I think that is huge. Like, because he can play dumb and like, I didn't hear them say not to release my dog. He may not be able to hear if that tractor trailer is running. Still, he may not be able to hear it. He may not be able to hear it.
Again, whether he heard it or not is ultimately still his responsibility to decide whether or not to release that dog. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
So,
you can't argue.
You can almost take out the whole. You can almost take out the part where the state police yelled out, "Don't release that dog." It really doesn't matter because that handler has to make that decision. And did he make the right decision? That's the question. So it still falls on that handler, whether or not he can justify the fact that he released that dog. And I don't think he can, Corey. I think we both agree on that. I don't think he can justify releasing that dog in this particular situation.
No, you can't. And I just don't want people to overreact to this and just make this all about, oh, here we go again, another unarmed black man, not being shot, but being attacked by a dog. Oh, we ain't make no progress over the last 50 years. Yes, we had. This had nothing to do with color. This just really has everything to do about a boneheaded mistake that the officer did when releasing that dog when he should not have released the dog.
And like I always say, we're giving you this opinion strictly objectionably based on our training experience of what we think is reasonable in this situation. We're the reasonable officers. You know what I'm saying? Giving you a reasonable explanation. Is there a reasonable explanation why he released that dog in this particular situation? And I would say no. I'm saying it got nothing to do with race. We ain't thinking about race when we're giving you our opinion. Okay.
Right.
It's either right or wrong. It's either reasonable or not.
Or not.
You know what I'm saying? Period.
No more in the question. Right. Let us know what you think. What y'all think, y'all. Was this what a reasonable officer should have done? Should that dog have been released? If you just joined us tonight, we're talking about the Circleville police K-9 attacks an unarmed black man. This is a small community just south of Columbus, Ohio. This transpired back on July 4th, a couple weeks back. And, just now gaining a lot of traction in the media. It's a very sad situation. Young man did have to go to the hospital and got some treatment, but then was released and then taken to jail. So it's definitely going to get some more play in the media here over the next few weeks or months, actually, when he appears in courts, and there'll probably be some lawsuits flying around. I'm not sure if Benjamin Crump going to get on this one or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. they tried to sue the department and sue the city for this heinous attack. It was unjust attack.
It was
Honestly.
unjustified. Yeah. Now I don't want to forget. I don't want to make light of what led up to this either. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying this particular use of this tool in this circumstances was wrong, was not right. Okay. But I also ain't excusing the behavior of this suspect for leading police on a high risk pursuit. Who knows what would have happened had they not stopped the vehicle with stop sticks? You know what I'm saying? Could he have crashed into something else, another driver, and killed them because of the crash he decided to run from? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to completely forget about what led up to this. Let's not do that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good.
Was
good,
it wrong
good
what
point,
this K-9 officer did? Huh?
A very good point. So now let's switch it to the other side now. If this individual had followed the acronym CALM, would it have gone this far?
No way. Not even close. You know what I'm saying? Commercial enforcement on a highway with semi trucks is a very common thing out here in California. They do it all the time. California Highway Patrol is out there doing commercial vehicle enforcement on the highways all the time. And there are a lot of violations that they find with these semi trucks for mud flaps, licenses, no registration, no load plans, or whatever paperwork they're supposed to have. That is how they keep these drivers in check with these semi trucks and stuff, driving for companies. Okay, so the fact that he was pulled over, or at least attempted to be pulled over by police for no mud flaps, very common. You know, those trucks obviously are definitely supposed to have mud flaps. So there's no question about why they pulled him over in the first place or tried to pull him over. Had he been calm, complied, answered questions, listened, moved on, he would have been able to move on. Mostly, he would have gotten a ticket for not having mud flaps, which probably, Corey, wouldn't even been his responsibility. Probably would have been the company that he works for, their responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
No, here in Virginia, I don't know how it may be that way in California, but here in Virginia, that equipment violations fall on the driver. The weight distribution of the truck will fall on the company. So if I write that tractor trailer driver an overweight ticket, that ticket goes to the company, not to the driver. The equipment things, that's the driver's responsibility to make sure everything is operational on that road before he goes down. Now, the only two things that would have happened if I would have stopped him was he definitely would have got the ticket, and then I'd have had him call out their maintenance guy and come out and put a mud flap. I'd have shut him down until he got that mud flap fixed, and then travel on down the road.
Scott Vrosh, yeah, I agree with you, Scott. I would love to see that K-9 body worn camera, and yeah, based on what we've seen, it doesn't seem like the release of the dog was objectively reasonable. I agree with you right there. I don't think it was objectively reasonable at all. Good comment. And yeah, I would love to see that K-9 body cam. They probably aren't showing it yet because that officer was fired, and they're probably saving it for court purposes now at this point. But I don't see why they should release it, because the other agency released their body cam. Obviously, that's how we found it. That's how we saw it. But we don't have any body cam from the Circleville Police Department, I don't believe. Right, Corey? I don't think so.
No, from the local. Yeah, from the local PDs. No. Goat says, what do y'all think? Will the mud flap charges be dropped and the other charges be dropped due to what happened? It's a possibility. It's just a matter if they're going to pursue the what we call here felony eluding. It'd be a matter of if they're just going to pursue that charge because that's the most serious charge over the mud flap. The mud flap is just an equipment violation. Really could be a civil penalty, really, and let that go and just stick that. But I think so. I think it all will be thrown out because of this.
I don't know. That's a good question, Goat. I don't know, because if you think of it this way, if this was someone who just like say, let's switch it up and give you a different scenario. What if this suspect was accused of let's see, battering another citizen? He punched another citizen in the face, right? Let's make that scenario. And the same thing happened. He went on a high-speed pursuit. He got stopped. They released the dog when they shouldn't release the dog, and he got bit. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to drop the battery charge because he battered another citizen because the officer wrongfully released the dog. You see what I'm saying? So it depends on what that question is. A question for the district attorney's office. You know what I'm saying? Is it in the interest of justice to charge him with fleeing and evading the police and no mud flap? Is it within the interest of justice to charge that or not? That's really a question for district attorney, right?
You know, Mike, as well as I know, in today's atmosphere and climate with the justice system and what we've seen time and time again, these will be dismissed. Now, the only one that probably wouldn't be is the eluding one. I can see the mud flip one, because that's maybe a $50 citation, right? I see more if anything's going to stay, it would be for the eluding. All right, but again, for the city to save face, they may just drop everything because they're going to paying out the butt in civil to pay him for what they did. So I don't know. Again, you're 100% correct. I agree with you that it is up to the we call them district attorneys or Commonwealth attorneys, to wherever you're at. I think it's going to be up to them. But what we've seen, the trend that we've seen, especially here, black man mauled by a dog in today's climate,
yeah,
it's going to get dismissed. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Scottish One says the cop has been fired. What happens next? No idea. Yeah, he's been fired, but I understand that he's going to fight the firing, so it'll go through the court system. As far as the cop is concerned, he's going to try to fight to get some compensation for being fired because that cop feels that he was unjustly fired, which that's determined to be in court, be determined in court. Right now, as far as the suspect goes, that's what we're talking about now. Is will he continue? He was arrested. He was booked rightfully so. After he was bitten by the dog, Corey, they did provide immediate first aid, got him medically cleared to the hospital before he was booked. Okay, so that's normal stuff. He was arrested and booked on some charges. Now it's up to the district attorney or the Commonwealth attorney or whatever you call them in your city to decide where it goes from this point on. They could still, charge him with this crime, or they could drop the charges. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? So they got to do something about it. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it's up to them. It's up to the courts.
It's definitely up to them, man. I mean, it's just, I say that it'll probably get dismissed based on what I see here happening every day in our court systems here. If he were here, yeah, you can pretty much count on everything being dropped here. In Ohio, I don't know, maybe different ball game in Ohio, right? He may still there you go. He might get hemmed up, on all the charges that he get. Now,
Yeah.
the another point, Mike, some may ask, okay, after he was bitten, was it necessary for them to still handcuff him?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wasn't
You still got
necessary.
to do what you're supposed to do as far as officer safety concerned. Whether he was bit or not, we have to remember he still was a fleeing suspect. Okay, took police on a high-speed chase. We still don't know why he ran. Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, once you're under arrest, I can do first aid on you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you still gonna get handcuffed and booked into jail for what you did too. Okay. Some would say, well, that cop should be in jail because he let the dog go when he shouldn't have. Yeah, you could argue that point, but that's what the courts are for. You know what I'm saying? That police officer is still, what's the word? They're still doing their job as far as what is in the parameters of their job. Whether the decision to tactfully release that dog is kind of beside the point. That officer is still on duty doing something as a result of what that suspect did, right or wrong, right? So it doesn't get handled that way. You can't say, you're not going to turn around and say, well, you sick that dog on him, let's arrest you right now too. No, it doesn't work that way when it comes to police, because they're still doing what is considered part of their job. You see what I'm saying? Now, the decision that was wrong that he made, that's handled the way it's handling now. You know what I'm saying? You lose your job. You could later be brought up on charges too. You know, if it turns out that you maliciously did that in some kind of way, you know what I'm saying? That I could easily see that officer being brought up on charges of battery or something along that line after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So who knows where this goes?
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to be able to articulate why he did what he did. You know, what was going through his mind, what made him want to release that dog when the man was not a threat. I mean, he's clearly has his hands up, and he's following the instructions of the state trooper, and you unleash the dog on him. Yeah, he can very well be charged something. Maybe they'll see something. I mean, he's already been fired now. I mean, that's not saying that they won't come back and indict him on something. What that is, I mean, it could be I think a couple of different things, but we don't know. When we're speculating. What Scottish one says, the guy even called the cops through the pursuit.
Yeah, he did. I did read that.
I missed that one. Say again.
I did read that somewhere where the suspect in the pursuit, it's like he called and said he was scared or something. It was trying to tell dispatchers that he was afraid. Well, then the dispatcher said, well, you need to just pull over. But the only reason why he pulled over, because they put the stop sticks on him. He didn't pull over.
He really did pull over. He was stopped in the lane of travel.
Yeah, he didn't pull over on his own. He was forced to stop because they put the stop sticks on him, blew his tires out. So I did hear that.
All over a mud flap. Yeah, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. All over a mud flap. I mean, you can't use, hey, I'm scared, so I'm not going to stop. No, that intensifies the situation, and that puts the officers in a different mindset. And so you're just setting the stage for something to go wrong by not stopping and saying that you were afraid to stop. I mean, we talked about that last week in our video we did last week, where the young man just took off in a Jeep from the traffic stop and drugged the police officer along with him. And, you know, his reason is, you know, he was scared. Well, why would you put yourself in more danger than if you're already so-called scared, right? when
No, you wasn't scared to take off in the car like that. You wasn't scared at that point.
Yeah, you weren't
You know
scared of that. You weren't, you weren't scared, breaking the other laws that you were doing prior to this. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I'm talking cops. He had no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Scottish one. I see kind of like you said, Terry versus Ohio. It's got to do with stop and frisk. Well, this was a situation where they clearly had a lawful reason to pull him over. He was driving and was in violation of a vehicle code, so that's why they stopped him. So it wasn't just a random stop and frisk or anything like that. What blew this up was because he took off on him. He didn't stop. He took off and took them on a high-speed chase in a big semi truck. So that's why they ended up stopping him. I think I don't know, that's where Scottish One was going with that.
Now, when you're talking about that, just pulling over a tractor trailer, now you can do that. We used to do that. Now I would do that with our DMV guys, Department Motor Vehicle guys. We will partner up with them, and we'll sit in a crossover somewhere, and they'll say, "Hey, trooper, go stop that 18-wheeler right there," and I will go stop it, and they would do weigh the tractor trailer on the side of the road. Now, you don't need probable cause there. They can, hey, pick a truck, go get them. I run that tractor trailer down, get them pulled off to the side of the road, and then we'll weigh him on there. And then I will walk around the truck, make sure everything's good, lights, everything work, mud flaps, whole nine, check his logbook. If I see any discrepancies, and then I will write him, another violation too. So you can stop a tractor trailer, only in that certain circumstances without probable cause if you're doing it for weight violations, to check their weight on the road instead of waiting for them to get to the weigh station. That can happen. Scott said fleeing in a semi because you're scared, something there doesn't add up to me. Yeah.
Well, Rock, he's thinking like a police officer. That's exactly what we mean there, Scott Roche. Right. Because there's something more going on here. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Because those drivers, that's their bread and butter. Those wheels ain't turning, they ain't making no money, right? And those, they had the best driving record, most of them. Their law books, most of them, for the most part, are up to date and everything. That license is everything from, that's like 14 karat gold to them. That's their livelihood. So they're not going to mess that up. And for him to just not stop simply because you said you're scared, dude, you're a tractor trailer. You come in contact with the police all the time, depending on how long you've been driving, you're going to encounter the law enforcement. You're a tractor trailer driver.
So like Scott, like Roche was saying, what was going on that caused him all of a sudden to be scared and not stop? You know what I'm saying? And Scottish One said he did not speed, just not stop. Well, Scott, in my opinion, the violation of not stopping for police is more serious than the speed. Okay.
Well, you don't have to be speeding to be in a pursuit.
No, you don't. You don't have to be speeding to be in pursuit. Okay. Not stopping for police is a more serious violation than just you speeding. That's the way you should say that. Okay. But yeah, let's see. What does he say? I'm not sure where Scottish One is going with some of these, but we do appreciate the comments because we'll interpret them as best we can. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he says correct. I think he understood where we're coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah,
welcome Scottish One. First of all, he says he's
I haven't seen him on
right lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, good. Hey, let me see here. I'm gonna put my our email address in there, and let's link up because we'd like to do a video with an attorney, Mike, a civil rights attorney, and let's get into that. and talk about the two sides there and in a traffic stop and see where the breakdown is if people's rights are being violated. So I think that would be good. Scottish One, if you're down with that, give me a thumbs up and I'll put our email address in the chat here. Let me see.
Yeah, that's good. We appreciate you tuning in, though. But yeah, but ultimately, I know we probably going over time here, but I mean, as Corey and I tell you, ultimately, the bottom line, as far as the K-9 be released on the suspect, we don't think that was reasonable. I don't think that was something that should have been done. And personally, I think that K-9 dog should have still been in the car. I don't think it was, because here's why. These K-9 officers can hit a button, open that car door, and send that dog right out the car at you if they really need to. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, that dog should have still been in the car, should have never been out the car under those circumstances, and definitely shouldn't have been used to apprehend the suspect. As I read to you before, an example of a police department policy involving the use of K-9s, that situation does not fall within these parameters of this particular policy, because he wasn't a threat. He didn't include any of those type of scenarios or circumstances where it would have been reasonable to let the dog go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hands down. This was definitely bad on police. He had no reason to do that. It was definitely uncalled for. And at least I can say, for Mike and I, we always say we seem to be reasonable guys. When we wore the uniform, we still like to believe that we were reasonable police officers. And, I think you have to look at, as a field training officer, I would drive into my trainees the department policies, and if you have to question yourself when you're on a stop and you can't get a hold of anybody to get a question answered, let that person go. Let them go. Don't put yourself in a position where you make the wrong decision and it ultimately ends up getting you in hot water. So this guy, I have mixed emotions. He was wrong totally. I'm not going to sit here and try to sugarcoat anything that he did. He was wrong from now till the end of time. He was wrong. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this show up for tonight, y'all. We thank everybody for joining us. Scottish One, Go, Delando, Mom, Stacy. Am I missing anybody? Bubba Buck.
Did Tone made it on, didn't he?
Huh?
Did Tone make it on?
Yeah, he was on. He was on.
Yeah, I seen there.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching us tonight. And Scottish One, check the comments. I put our email address in there. Hit us up. We'll exchange contact information, and we'd love to get you on the show and talk about an incident and whether or not civil rights and things like that were violated, and what type of charges and things could one look at getting if their rights have been violated. So please hit us up. We'd love to get you on the show. Don't forget to head to the Brothas-In-Law merch shop. Get your Brothas-In-Law t-shirt. Help support us and get us out there, y'all. And don't forget also to hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. And that is all I got to say. Mike, final words.
You guys have a safe weekend. And like I say, we're going to give it to you straight and give it to you from a reasonable officer's point of view. You guys be safe. Remember the CALM acronym. Comply, answer questions, listen. And the number one thing is move on. That's right.
All right. God bless you guys. We love you, and good night.